Hey everyone, I'm Rhino,
And I'm RJ.
and welcome to the Launchpad. Here we're going to have some chats with our Ampliverse creators. You get to know them and learn a little bit about their stories and points of view, and most importantly, what exciting things you can expect from them as they launch their projects into the Ampliverse. So, in today's episode of the Launchpad, we have Oni and Larrnell, who you might know from the Autistic Delicatessen. Welcome.
Hey,
Hello.
hey, yes. Thank
Hi.
you for having us on here.
Yeah, it's great to
Yeah.
be here.
Ani, I love your. I feel like your background's very appropriate right now with the very psychedelic colors going around. I'm very
Yes,
jealous.
like in space. I feel like I'm in space
Yeah.
in your background over there.
Cheers. I do like having a very interesting background for recordings. So
Do you both? I'll turn it over and let you both decide who's going to talk first. But you want to tell us a little bit about the Autistic Delicatessen and how you got that project started. For anybody listening, you're brand new to them. Start from the ground up. What is the Autistic Delicatessen? Who are you? Who are you? I guess that's where we should start first. Then
Yes, yes.
what's your project?
Well, Rhino and RJ. I'm starting first. Basically, the Autistic Delicatessen just came out of an idea that I had to do a food and drink show because before, like, I did past shows of music and arts, with like
Mm.
inoculated radio and inoculated expression. So, me and Oni met up through like an autism Facebook group, and they were finding like like guests for their podcast Autish, which Oni can explain more on that. And basically, I connected with them, and then we just talked, and then like I said, oh hey, Oni, can I be a guest? Can I be a co-host on your show? And it's like, I'm not really looking for a co-host because I was trying to do like an autistic project because I had other attempts, but they've failed and all that stuff with other people and all that stuff. So this was like another attempt to be able to like do something within that. So to make the long story short, then like Oni said like, oh, you can be a guest on my show, and then I was on their show. And then after that, like, or even during the pre-interview, we started talking, and then we started talking a little bit about food. I got a chance to see their tea blog and all that type of stuff. And then like at first, like when I thought about the idea, I wasn't sure if Only would be before that idea that I had about food and drinks podcast. So I put out the idea to them. So when I put out the idea to them, I was thinking, okay, hopefully they like it. So I had the idea, and then also I sent the music because Bat Sauce is the person that produces the music. Then like when I sent the idea to them as well as the beats, they just immediately said, let's do it. And it was like, what? It's like, and that was fast. That was fast, because only before was saying that they weren't really interested because they were already doing their own stuff. So
Mm.
from that, basically, we did our first podcast, and then the rest is history. So, yeah.
yeah, and it evolved to a video series as time went on, and we
Mm.
both we're both a unit, like a team. There's no one person more than the other. We're both this our project together. I'm responsible for the video episodes, and Larrnell is responsible for the audio episodes, and we both collaborate together with the script. I also do the graphics, and when he did ask me to if we want to do Delicatessen, since it was a separate project, I was just like, that sounds so cool. You know what? Let's do it. Let's do something new. This sounds like fun. And I like talking about food anyway. So, yeah. And since then, it's just been growing and it's really exciting, especially how there's a new season on the way.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah,
Oni,
that's awesome.
could you tell us just give us the elevator pitch of what is the Autistic Delicatessen? Like, what's the mission statement?
Um, well, basically, the Autistic Delicatessen is it wants to talk about all story. All let me start again.
No, you're
Okay.
fine.
The Autistic Delicatessen basically is a platform, video or audio, to share various stories about food, various experiences from other people. Every food tells a story is like our
Mm.
tagline, and we've spoke to various people, whether they're foodies, bloggers, humanitarian people, vegans, could be anyone with all walks of life, even like things like black-owned businesses and stuff. We just like to give that one person their little platform for a bit while we discuss food. Some episodes can be quite lighthearted, some can be quite serious, and as the tagline goes, if I had to explain the Autistic Delicatessen in a nutshell, every food tells a story.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, Rhino and I, like when our friendship basically started with food, I made a crunchy sandwich on on Instagram, and he was like, "What is that? What? How can you make more?" The crunch heard around the world. Yeah, I think the food, telling stories through food is definitely something like I personally love. Like it's my personal like journey too, and like I even got to talk about it in the Autistic Delicatessen, which was awesome. But how did it kind of come to? How did Larrnell? How did you get to the idea of food? Like, what was it about food that kind of like you wanted to pitch over to Oni? Was it because like you felt like it was something communal that everyone could gather around, or did you have like a passion for it, or what, what kind of led you to that? Were you just hungry that day?
Yeah, it's like I just sent this like only I want to do this some food and drinks podcast because I'm so
I'm
hungry.
starving.
Well, no, I accepted because I was starving, I just want all them grilled cheese.
Oh my gosh, yes. You should have sent me one of those ham and pickle sandwiches. Like this is something that only would talk about on the show. So it's a Scottish thing.
It's
So
like
yeah.
it's like Branston pickle, cheese and ham sandwiches. It's like my favorite sandwich in the world, probably.
It sounds pretty
um,
good. I'm not gonna lie. I'm
it,
very intrigued now.
if you don't know what Branston pickle is, it's similar to chutney, in a
Okay.
way. Not the exact same, but if I had
hmm
to describe it in a way, it kind of looks like a chutney. Um,
Maybe like a relish from our end, like, but maybe not as like tiny because relish is really small.
Yeah, it's very chunky, but you can get a
Yeah.
smooth one or smaller pickle ones. I've not
hmm
tried the very smooth one. It's like, why? It has to be chunky. Go chunky or go home.
Really, Vlasic has some good ones. I like I like the Vlasic pickles though. So yeah,
mm.
Yeah,
yeah,
oh, they're good. Nothing wrong with classic pickles, whether they're small or the big ones. When you get in the chippy, it's all good.
yeah. But I'm going on to the question that you
Yeah.
had, RJ, is that I remember like just like offhand, like my mom as well as a good friend of mine, was telling me, oh, you should do like a food thing and all that type of stuff because I would watch. I think it was because I would watch some food shows or
hmm
at times like for my other friend and all that stuff. His name is Tony Muhammad and all that stuff. So he would see what I post on my Instagram or Facebook about food and all that stuff. It's like, oh, like why don't you like do like a food blog and all that stuff? And I just thought, I didn't want to write stuff, because I remember like from me being from broadcasting school, Connecticut School of Broadcasting. I interned at Y100 in Miami, and they had us do celebrity blogging type stuff, and it was kind of like, oh, I can't write stuff like this, It's like I just don't like sitting down, just being like, okay, here's what I think and all that stuff. It's just,
Yeah.
I that's not how I did stuff, But
hmm
so I felt like no blog for that. But then I thought like, how about if I just do like what I like and all that stuff because I already like food.
hmm
So from that, like even when we did the first episode, me and Oni were just trying to figure out how to go about this because again, like if you hear our first podcast, our very first podcast episode, um, I was trying to mix in our food chat with like food reviews in terms like I will
Mm.
review foods, restaurants from like my area. They would do it from theirs and all that stuff, like
hmm
tea, whatever, and all that stuff. And it was long, and we learned from that. But then we just started to like have chats, and then I felt like in our second episode where we had like the Sauce Boss, which
hmm
he does like blues and he does blues music and rock, and then at the same time he also cooks gumbo on stage and all
Ugh,
that stuff is on
so
stage.
good.
And if you never heard the Sauce Boss, if you ever see a Sauce Boss show, he does good music and you'll have free gumbo. So he also has
Wow.
a case of hot sauces too as well. So yeah.
I'll have to check
So
that out. Yeah.
yeah, so that's some episode number 2 and all that stuff for our podcast. But anyway, I think the whole idea of doing that and mixing in with music and all that stuff, that's when it was like with the whole autistic delicatessen idea,
Hmm.
because we know me and only agree on food bringing people together. But then that's when I figured that, you know what, we can be able to look at food not just as startups and all that stuff, but
Hmm.
really to go to different places and all that stuff, too as well. Because honestly, the food shows that I would watch, and it like would be, I'll watch Guy Fieri's,
Hmm.
Diners, Drive-ins, and Dives and all that stuff, and also I would watch like the late Anthony Bourdain's Parts
Hmm.
Unknown and No Reservations. And the thing I like about Anthony Bourdain was more about like he was a guy that was very poetic in how he told food, and he really brought it to a story type of thing. Because at first, like, I was figuring out like, why the heck would Anthony Bourdain bring his show to CNN? That's like, I don't get that, because he was on the Travel Channel and CNN.
Yeah.
But all that to say was that kind of influenced me in terms of food, in terms of going into different realms with food rather than just like, only talking about only the fun stuff, but really going into the culture, really understanding the feelings towards food and all that type of stuff, because I felt like that's how me and Oni on the show can have serious conversations and all that stuff, like we even talked to like the end of our first season of our video series, like we talked to a person that does food activism for Food Not Bombs and all that stuff, so, to where people give food, vegan food, like, at protests and all that stuff, so to be able
Hmm.
to have those elements there and all that stuff, basically from those influences, like from Andy Bourdain, it showed me that we can be able to take food wherever we want to go and all that stuff,
Mm.
and I like taking the food conversation into different spots and different places. So basically, with delicatessen, to me, it's really about two autistic people being able to talk to different people and talk really about like fun stuff, like how we did with you, RJ, as well as with different people, to where we go from the fun stuff and then we go to something cultural, like, about
Hmm.
Palestinian food that's not really much talked about and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the stuff that I really enjoy about our show, as well as like
Yeah.
blues music and food too, as well.
Great.
So yeah.
That's awesome. It really does feel like a delicatessen because everything is available and you can kind of talk about how they're all, you know,
It's
all
like a
in a
buffet.
spread. And yeah, a buffet. There's a little bit of everything that you can kind of like, and there's a little bit of something for everyone.
Hmm.
I am curious, like, how does it feel being able to kind of share like the autistic experience and like the experience of being on the spectrum in like in the form kind of like in a podcast or even in videos, like how has that kind of affected like the work that you're doing, and does that play into like, like a sense of, I don't know, maybe not activism is the right word, but like like telling your story through being able to talk about the things that you love.
I think it definitely has an impact for me at least.
Yeah.
Because I started doing a different podcast called the Autish
Hmm.
podcast because I write also a blog with the same name, Autish, because it was mainly to document my experience as an autistic person because I got late diagnosed.
Hmm.
And then when I done Delicatessen, I felt that was a thing to help me out, give myself a sense of purpose. And I've
Hmm.
met so many people in different communities, both Delicatessen and Oddish, and it's been fantastic. And also a creative minded person, as is Larrnell. For me, I've learned how to do a lot of things by being self taught, whether it's audio or video,
Hmm.
and I've also done photography at university and a wee bit of film as well. So just mixing all this stuff, my passions together, and putting it in either autistic activism or just talking about experiences and create a community, a sense of unity. Also with LGBT stuff as well, because I
Hmm.
usually just put that in with Audish as well, because I'm also LGBT, I'm bi and non-binary. So if anyone wondered why I keep saying they, it's like, yeah, I'm using them pronouns. So hello,
Hmm.
hello, any non-binary people watching. Hopefully, I'm good representation. But yeah, Larnell, what do you think of the whole thing as well? The
uh
whole autistic thing.
Yeah, I think for me, being a cisgender male, which we don't discriminate here, I'm sure.
No.
Of course. I mean, Rhino's here. I'm here.
Yes.
We are all people, unity.
Yes,
Yes, we're all
exactly.
together and all. Yes. Basically for me, like with the whole concept of autistic delicatessen, I just felt like, I think for me, it's a way of showing autism, but in personally my own terms and all that stuff, because, you know, it'll be more of like autistic people tell their stories, but yet, what about showing their stuff too as well?
Mhm.
Because the thing like what me
Yeah.
and Oni do is that we're able to show our stuff to different people, whether they're autistic or not. Because in our first season in our podcast, we talked to somebody that was autistic, that has a food YouTube thing and all that stuff. Hunter Boudreau, who also is a person that does who knows he's known as the Autist Chef and all that stuff. And from that, it's just like we were able to talk about food, what he does, as well as we talked about food in video games. And when we talked about it, it's just like, we can go anywhere with this. It's just because it just felt very it just felt very interesting. But yeah, like I'm just thinking about the autistic delicatessen. It was really more about being an autistic person and really doing it in my own terms, really sharing like what we can do. Because when me and Oni talked to even an autistic person named Hunter Boudreau, who's the autistic chef, who was in our first season of the podcast, he does like a food YouTube channel and all that stuff. We talked about food as well as we talked about food in video games. And I remember
Mhm.
like what you'll hear in the podcast, I asked him the question of like something about like food and Fortnite or something like that, if you're familiar with
Mm.
Fortnite,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
when he mentioned about like the whole thing and how he was at the time like this was pre-COVID at the time to where like he was doing all these food stuff from Fortnite. And look, like I'm a post gamer, I'm a, I used to play games back in the day, but I don't really, I just think like it's an interesting conversation. I like seeing
Mhm.
other
Yeah.
people play video games rather than
Yeah,
myself. So
it's
Yeah,
like when
me too.
it's like when Hunter mentioned like video games and I recognize names and I'm like, yeah, I know what you're talking about. I play games.
yes. And also only mentioned about like there was a cookbook which I didn't even know about from Overwatch. It's like a
Yeah,
video
Yeah,
game
I've
cookbook.
seen that.
Oh.
and it
Yeah.
was World of
I've seen
Warcraft.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I got
my
that from a partner.
brother-in-law has the Dungeon and Dragons cookbook, and I've
All
looked at
right.
that a couple times. I'm like, oh, that's so cool.
And really, this is like another theme of the Autistic Delicatessen to where we can take the conversation of food anywhere. Because
Yeah.
Mhm.
before, I didn't even know that until like because when I did my past project of music and arts, like my thing was more about eclectic music and
Hmm.
putting it together and all stuff. And I think somebody was telling me in the past that basically the Autistic Delicatessen is kind of like your past projects. And now when I look back to it, it kind of is, because
Yeah.
it's kind of like mixing in different things and being like,
Yeah.
oh, like let's mix in anime with food. Okay, put that in there. It's like because even in one of our talks, like Oni mentioned about stuff like with Pokemon, like with bread curry and all that stuff, and it's like bread
Mm.
curry with like in Pokemon. It's like what?
Are
It's
you
just
talking, Oni? Are you talking about in like Sword and Shield where you can make curry with your Pokemon?
I think
That's
so. I need to
oh
look
yeah,
back
that's what
on
it
it,
was.
but I
Sword and
think
Shield.
so.
You
Yeah.
mentioned that. Yeah.
Yeah, with
yeah.
Jeez.
Sword and Shield. You make I just love making the different kinds of curry. It's like, is this just as bad as Breath of the Wild? Because when I got Breath of the Wild, all I did was make food
Oh,
recipes.
I did. Me
That's
too. So
all I did was make recipes. I've never completed the game, but
I have
now
never completed the game. All I do is I throw apples to a fire so I can make a bunch of roasted
you
Oh
just
my
make a
apples.
god.
lot of
And
random crap. It's great.
my husband has been like, "You're not even going to play the puzzles." I'm like, "It's too hard. I just
It's like
want
I've
to
done a
collect
few,
the
but
food."
you can make all these
Yeah.
recipes. And
Yeah.
nowadays I just play the new Breath of the Wild. I mean Genshin Impact.
Fun. Oh, I gotta check that one out.
Yeah, that's why it's all about interesting conversation. And look, I'm a
Yeah.
post gamer, and I'm interested in this conversation and all that
Yeah,
stuff. So
totally.
it's
So much fun.
you know,
Yeah.
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 It's cool. I love how you both found each other. I love that, that I, RJ was right. Like we met through basically through his thing of food because I am always drawn to food related stuff. I'm not a cook. I don't know how to cook. I just am happy to always eat whatever anybody makes. So I'm always here to be a
Hmm.
taste tester. But I think there's something it's all about different types of communication, right? And that's what you're talking about with with the Autistic Delicatessen, but that's also what food is too. It's communicating, past, present, communal experiences, whatever. It's emotion wrapped up. It's just another way of like talking to each other. But I also love that this is like it sounds like this is also kind of like what we were going for with the Ampliverse, where it was trying to have a space where people who were like, oh, I'm really passionate about this thing, or I'm really into this thing, that you can connect and find other people like that here in like a very judgment free, safer space. I hate using the word safe space because it feels like so many companies now are like, we provide a safe space to our
It
employees. And you're
sounds
like,
like a
do
bubble
you?
kind of thing, and you
Right.
don't want
Yeah.
it. You don't want that.
Yeah.
You don't. It sounds like an echo chamber, and you don't
Right,
want
yes,
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
totally.
exactly, and that's why I try to be like, but I want it to be like a toxic-free environment where it's just like, you can let your hair down and do whatever you want, and just dance like nobody's watching. I'll go through them all. I'll go through every bad tattoo phrase there is to describe the Ampliverse, but
Live,
but
laugh,
no,
love.
Live, laugh.
yes, we're here to
Live,
eat,
laugh,
live,
yeah,
laugh,
yeah.
love, yeah.
Or eat, pray, love. Nah,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. So that's funny. But no, I love that, and that's why I think like it's so great. What you've already started really just vibes with the whole reason why we were trying to do this, and I hope that that can inspire other people to find, more people of their type that go together, or completely opposite people. It's just like it's whatever you're looking for. I don't know.
yes,
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
and really just showing that you can have a full conversation and then talk
Yeah,
about other things at the same time, because food doesn't have to be put into a box to where
right.
like it's just very separate and all that stuff. Like me and only talk to vegans on our show, and we're not vegan.
Yeah.
It's like, so it just shows that you can talk to different people and have interesting conversations, that really can help stimulate the conversation. Even people that maybe not are into food, but maybe into
Mhm.
gaming, maybe into comic
Hmm.
books, maybe into like offhand, Rhino, you're interested in Power Rangers. Somebody came out with a cookbook of Power Rangers. It's like,
I would
okay,
own
we'll
it.
we'll talk about that. So yeah.
Do we not have one? Should we make a Power
We
Rangers
probably should,
cookbook
because
right now?
there's that very famous episode of Power Rangers, the food fight episode, and all
Oh,
I and Pudgy Pig, the monster in that episode, is iconic. I don't have his figure yet, but he's been pre-ordered. He'll be coming out soon.
it'll be coming soon.
Yeah.
I'm curious. Okay, like since we are talking about food, and I'm in a hungry mood now because I haven't had breakfast. So,
Mm.
what is everyone's kind of like favorite? I'm trying to think like everyone's favorite food, but I feel like we can kind of go deeper with that, and like what's like your like dream meal? Like what is the one meal that you're like I could eat
Okay,
Oh,
this and
I'll
it'll
go.
last.
I'll tell you one right now. Is that because this? I was literally having a conversation with my barber the other day about it. Because we were talking about like, I said my friend's coming into town, and I always feel that pressure when they come into town. Where I'm like, oh, I've got to take them to good places to eat. And I said,
Yeah.
I think that in my life, I'm on the hunt for like the perfect enchilada. I know it's so weird. I mean, I love Mexican
Mm.
food, so I will always, anytime someone's like, "Oh, you want to go Mexican?" I'm like, "Yes, 100%." And I love it all over the rate. It can be it can be Tex-Mex. It can be like incredibly authentic. I'm not here to discriminate against food. I will try it all. But I said I think that's my goal in life, is someday I'm gonna find the perfect
The
enchilada. And
perfect
RJ, you
enchilada.
have sat there when I said this enchilada was fine, because it
Yeah.
was outside of when we did the cabaret, remember? And I was like, I don't even know why I got this, but
Yeah.
yeah.
It's yeah. I think yeah, I mean, just thinking about just melted cheese on like a perfectly wrapped
Hmm.
tortilla with like beans and rice and meat inside. Oh
Yeah.
man.
I
Oh,
lean
that's
toward the
good.
shredded chicken myself. I enjoy
Oh, you're
the
a chicken.
Shredded
yeah,
chicken, good.
yeah. I try sometimes the verde. I like the green sauce. I don't know.
Mm.
But
yeah.
I
sorry, you
think
guys go. Now I'm hungry.
It's
God,
all right.
there's an enchilada in my refrigerator calling my name right now too.
Oh god. For me, well, in general, I do love pasta foods. I love
mm.
noodles. I love pizza. I love anything
Mm.
pasta. I love sushi. I love
Ugh.
Japanese food. I love Italian
I
food.
I love
love
ramen.
Japanese food.
Oh God,
Ramen is
Oh
like
so
my
good.
god, Japanese
Ha
food is
oh
so
my
have you
God.
good.
guys tried buldak bokumyeon, the really spicy fire noodles from South Korea?
I have had the
No.
buldak noodles. Is it the black one?
Yes.
Is it the black? Okay. Buldak and I have a very tumultuous relationship. We're on the rocks right now because even the like half spicy,
Yeah.
Oh no.
something happened. I turned 30, and all of a sudden I can't eat spicy
I'm
spicy
getting to
bulldog noodles
I'm
anymore.
getting to that stage because I had a year of being addicted to it. But
Yeah.
but the thing is, I add mayonnaise to it, and it tastes
I
so
had
much better.
heavy cream into
Interesting.
mine.
Oh, the
Interesting.
the best
Yeah.
flavor is the pink one though, the carbonara one. It's not
Yes,
carbonara, but it's
yes,
so good.
Oni,
Add it with
yes.
mayonnaise, and it's golden. But
The pink bulldog carbonara flavor is the best. Yeah,
it
I'm gonna have
is.
to try mayonnaise now because I usually
I
add
want
cream,
this.
and that adds it up.
You can get it
I-
online, they bother. I can get it from Amazon. I'm sure you can get it from Amazon or
You
whatever
can get it at
stores
the
online.
Lottie store, Rhino, on Colonial and
Okay. Okay.
John Young, I think.
Yeah, I know what you're
So,
talking about.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Ah.
I usually get it online, or I can get it from Chinese supermarkets, so it's
Mm.
pretty easy to get. But when it comes to food, you were talking about like dream meal.
Yeah.
I used to find really nice lasagna when I was younger,
Oh, I
and
love
nowadays it's
lasagna.
hard to find a decent
It
lasagna.
is so
And
true.
It
That
is
is so
very
true.
hard.
it's so hard. I used to find one in the local chippy. It was just a bog standard one, but it was amazing. And I used to know a pub that had an amazing one. It was probably cheap as well, but it was amazing. And nowadays, wherever ones you get from the shop or even if you make, there's just no good
I
lasagnas.
think
The
it's just
best
something in
one,
the sauce, right? It's like something
yeah,
about the sauce when you go out to eat it. Sometimes I always feel like the sauce is never good. Like I'm
it's
like,
just never good, never
Mm.
rich or anything.
yeah,
I think the
yeah.
best one I've had in a long while is one my partner made because he cooks. So
Mm.
I'm just like, that's probably the best lasagna I've had in a while, and I just wish I could find one that's consistent. It's no
I was
good.
Yeah.
I was actually at like a Black History event when I used to live in South Florida in Fort Lauderdale. It was at the Old Dillard Museum,
Mhm.
and basically they had regular lasagna, and also there was this black guy that had like this vegan lasagna, and the vegan
Mm,
lasagna was
Mm,
really good and
I
all stuff
bet
like the sauce and cheese, all that stuff,
mm,
So like
I'd try it.
so
yeah.
vegans. So I'm liking the way that vegans are having really good stuff and all that
Oh,
stuff.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I am
definitely.
actually like, if there is a vegan, I that is my like journey through like basically for my work for Disney stuff. Like anytime I have to do anything with food, I always get the vegan option if it's interesting, and especially if a
Mm,
lasagna popped up, I would 100% be
same.
there for that. Like, yeah,
That's what I do as a hobby. I try vegan alternatives, and they have gotten so much better
hmm
over the years compared to like maybe 10 years ago. And even
Mm.
I've been eating vegan cheese because I have a cheese addiction,
Mm.
and it's really helping. And I've found some decent brands. You feel once you eat it, you don't want more. Unlike cheese, you have to have all of
Yeah.
it. So it's
if
Yeah.
helping
if
me
you
curb my
are
addiction.
ever in Orlando again, or it's in Winter Park. I just had this the other day. It's called the Winter Park Biscuit Company, and it's entirely vegan, but they do burgers and uh chicken sandwiches. I had the best fried chicken sandwich I have ever had in my entire life. And my friend didn't know it was vegan, and he was like recommending it to people, and he's very like sometimes anti-vegans, I feel like. And so I said to him, I like let him tell the whole thing, and I was like, you know that place is vegan, right? And he's like, no, it's not all of it. And I was like, yes. I was like, it 100% is. And he was like, they got me. They tricked me. I was
They
like, it's
they're good at that
so
now.
good, so
Wow.
good.
Yeah. Because there's some really good vegan places and all that stuff.
Mm.
Mhm.
It's kind of yeah. Because I went to Veg Feast that was in St. Pete,
Mm.
and they would have like all these like vegan vendors and all that stuff, and it's just
Oh,
like
that's cool.
they had some really good stuff. Like there was this place called Golden Dinosaurs Vegan Deli that's in Gulfport in St. Pete. If you're ever in Florida, for anybody that's
Yeah.
watching and all that stuff, they have some really good stuff. Like I remember I had their vegan Cuban sandwich, and also if you know what Cuban sandwiches
Oh,
are,
I love a Cuban sandwich. Talking
yeah,
about ham and pickle. Oh,
Yeah.
that is
yeah. Oh my
that's,
god,
that's a ham
yeah,
and pickle sandwich right there.
So, Ani, yours is lasagna then, right? That's what you're
Yeah.
saying? The
Yeah.
perfect lasagna? Okay,
Yes.
Larnell, what is your hunt for the perfect food? What is that?
Yeah.
oh that man, that's kind of tough for me right there. It's like I just like different things though.
Mm.
It's I would say kind of like some good pizza and all that stuff.
Oh
It's
god, I love
oh
pizza.
Mm.
Yes.
one thing I will say is that I really like at Papa John's they have these like Papa Dios and all that stuff. Like with the cheese and all that stuff, like it's a wrap or something like that,
Mm.
and there and all that stuff. Like I remember I had it at Papa John's right near me and all that stuff since I live in Lutz around Tampa and all that stuff. So it's very good. That's a good thing right there. And oh, there's so many, but I'm just pointing out what I got recently and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Good pizza's hard to find in Florida, I feel like. Good.
It
It's a
is.
I don't know if it's something with the water, you
It
know.
is absolutely the water. It is 100% the water.
Yeah, I can't really say anything else right now. I can't think of any dream stuff. I think whatever's
I
good
mean,
food is,
pizza's really good. I think
but
that's
pizza,
a
but
it's a
pizza's the
good
Pizza's a
main
goal
thing.
to
solid
have.
that's a solid thing to hunt for. Also, you're like
Yeah.
me in terms of when people would be like, "Oh, hey, what's a good place to go?" And I'll have gone to like 20 places, but I can only remember the one I just went to, and it'll usually be the place like right here, and I'll be like, Tijuana Flats?" I'll be like I'll be like,
Yeah, yeah.
"I can't name another one. I can't think of anything else." They'll be like, "Well, where's a good drink spot in Orlando?" And I'll be like, just stare because I'm like, but then once people talk, I'll start remembering and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But RJ,
Yeah.
we need to know yours. Is it hot dogs?
It is not hot dogs, shockingly. It is. I have been watching a lot of Japanese YouTube videos of this. I think his name is Kimagure. He's a cook. He's like a home cook, but all he does is goes to his local seafood market and like gets like
Mm.
shellfish, fish, anything from the sea. And I have been like salivating for it. So I like a
Oh.
good oyster. I love oyster. I love
Oh,
like
oysters are good. I've only had them
ugh,
recent years, but they're really nice. Nice
they're
with
so
lemon.
good. I love oyster, fresh sushi, like fresh
I love.
sashimi.
I had some amazing
Ugh,
sushi the other day, and so you guys started on the Japanese food earlier, and I'm like, oh god,
I
I
know,
need to
like
go get that. I think
fresh,
I
tonight.
had
Like,
sushi today actually.
ugh,
It was
fresh
cheap,
jealous.
but it was good stuff though.
fresh salmon sashimi just melting in your mouth is like
Ugh.
one of the
Ah.
best. I love it so much. Yeah, my dream food will definitely be seafood. I love all types of seafood.
I thought you were gonna
I
say an
will eat
egg,
anything
maybe.
from I mean,
I
egg
know
is
you
my
love an egg.
go-to. I do love an egg. I love eggs in all forms, but I think dream-wise, like to like eat by the sea and just like shuck and just
Yeah,
oh my god, it's so
Ah.
good. Well, thank you everyone. I'm so glad we were able to talk about
I'm
food. I know like
starving.
I know now I'm
Like,
Time to
starving.
eat something now.
It's lunchtime for us. I think it's dinner time for Oni, so it's like
Pretty
perfect
much,
timing
yeah.
for it's a nice little appetizer conversation that we had today. But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
do want yeah, for everyone watching, make sure you stay tuned to the Ampliverse because we will be having the Autistic Delicatessen sometime in the fall with new episodes. We're so excited. When we truly like when you guys approached us that you wanted to be in the Ampliverse, that's when Rhino and I were like, "Oh, I think it works. Like what we built. Like people are actually approaching us and want to like do stuff with us and are showing up as their genuine selves, to talk about what they love and yeah, letting their
well,
hair
and
down exactly."
yes, I will not let the letting your hair down thing go away. That is always my like the dancing in the room, the whatever. But yeah, no, and just hopping on what RJ just said is you've literally what you did, how you created what you've created, and like what you do with what you've created is literally all what the Ampliverse tries to do. Just kind of create a space like that where other creators can either find each other or just, come up with fun stuff like that. And I love it. I love food too. So you had
Yeah.
me at
Yeah.
food. It didn't really have to go any further than that. I'm
Yes,
like,
yes, definitely, because food completes you. It completes
exactly.
Yeah.
everybody. Yes, yeah, yeah. Yes,
Totally.
and just to say this to you and RJ, again, thanks for really having us be a part of the Ampliverse. I hope we can be good with your brand and all that stuff. And we're just very humble that you've accepted us and all that stuff. Even when I reached out, because it's just like at first I didn't know you were gonna do it because again, like you were on our show, so that was already a given. Like, oh, we were on their show, so it was nice. So, but really appreciate it though.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
giving us the platform to be able to continue like, and actually for people like, well, this is our third season to be able
Hmm.
to do this and to be with people like you and RJ. It's really an honor for us.
Oh,
Oh,
well, thank you.
thank you guys. Thank you.
Definitely. It's nice for us to contribute something to your community. So we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, and we are too. We're so excited to see what could come after that too. Like, who knows? We might kind of jam and vibe on some other stuff that we would want to try out. Because
Different jams right there. That's the
Different
next
jams.
podcast. You have the tea. Now I've got the jam podcast. Jammy Dodgers, all that stuff. Let's get
it. Yeah. Now, in terms of jam, like, let's hope RJ does not do jam like Walt's chili. If you remember.
Oh yeah, no. We'll get we are gonna get a good jam. Don't you worry. We're
I'm
not
sorry.
gonna
I didn't mean to bag you on that again, but I just had to do it. Yeah,
That's
sorry.
hilarious.
I remember
No.
making that chili. Unfortunately, stuck in
That's
my
what I
head.
love, though. You know, not everything can be a hit, but I love that journey because that's life, right? It's like
Yeah.
Yeah.
you can try sometimes it doesn't come out like you want, but it makes you better at it for having
Yeah.
tried, you know.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Totally. All right. Well, thank you everyone so much for joining us on this episode of the Launchpad. Thank you, Oni. Thank you, Larrnell, for joining us.
worries.
And we're so excited to see what we get to come up. Like I said, the Autistic Delicatessen will be premiering a new season this fall. We're very excited, so make sure you stay tuned. TheAmpliverse.com is where you can find all of our content. At the Ampliverse on all of your social media. We do podcasts, we do YouTube videos here on the YouTube channel at the Ampliverse. And also, if you like what you see and you want to send a little tip, we have a Ko-fi account too, ko-fi.com/the-Ampliverse. Thank you again to everyone, and we will see you next time here at the Launchpad. Bye. Heart.
Discovering voices, building worlds. The Ampliverse.